Hello, diabetic ketoacidosis and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state is two life-threatening complications of diabetes. Now, if a patient presents in these complications and he has some acute condition requiring surgery, emergency surgery, what would be the special precautions that we need to practice and whether the patient can be taken for surgery or not? How do we resuscitate the patient? Everything we will discuss in this section. So we will start our discussion with a case scenario, and after discussing that case scenario, I would like to discuss about diabetic ketoacidosis and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, their comparison, their presentation and management, and what are their implications for a patient coming for emergency surgeries. So the case scenario is a 68-year-old male is brought to emergency with a complaint of altered sensorium, acute pain abdomen, nausea and vomiting. He has a history of diabetes from last 15 years on long-acting insulin 12 units and short-acting insulin, regular 6 unit before lunch and before dinner. On investigation, his blood sugar was 567 milligram per deciliter. ABG showed a pH of 7.12 showing acidosis. Bicarbonate was 10 millicoulomns per liter. Sodium beta hydroxybutyrate was positive, so ketone positive. Sodium was 154, that was borderline. Potassium was 3 and other electrolytes were within normal limit. The diagnostic CT revealed a duodenal perforation and blood pressure of the patient was 95/60, heart rate 140 beats per minute. Saturation was 93% on room air. Now, resuscitation was started, and since the case was of duodenal perforation, emergency laparotomy was planned. So, before taking the patient for emergency laparotomy, the resuscitation has to be started, and resuscitation, whatever time we have to optimize our patient, and the optimization should be continued in intra-op period also and even in post-op period also till we achieve a full optimization and freedom from these two emergency states. So before discussing this case, how do we proceed with this case? Let us discuss about diabetic ketoacidosis and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Now, why are these emergencies presenting in diabetes? What are the inciting features? What are the diagnostic criteria? What is the management, the resuscitation plan that we have to take? Everything we'll discuss. So, as I said, diabetic ketoacidosis and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Now, these two are life-threatening complication of diabetes. Now, as the name suggests, diabetic ketoacidosis. Now, the cardinal feature of diabetic ketoacidosis is hyperglycemia, then ketoacidosis. So, patient will have metabolic acidosis due to the ketone bodies present in the blood. So, patient will present with acidosis and ketones in serum. So, these are the three important cardinal features which is required for diagnosis. We'll talk about the diagnostic feature further as well. What about hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state? Now, as the name suggests, again this is characterized by hyperglycemia, hyperosmolality, and because of hyperosmolality, the patient is disoriented. So, patient will have no acidosis, but patient will be disoriented. So, disorientation will be characteristically seen in hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, but there will be no acidosis. And very important thing to understand that diabetic ketoacidosis, the hyperglycemia would be there, but lesser compared to the hyperglycemia of hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. In hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, number of time the blood sugar would be more than 1000 milligram per deciliter, and mostly in diabetic ketoacidosis it is between 350 to 550 milligram per deciliter. Now, diabetic ketoacidosis is more acute presentation. The patient presents in a faster manner. So, the diagnosis is kind of patient presenting in the faster manner, the condition complicating fast. So, diagnosis is a bit early compared to hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Here, the presentation is more insidious, right? Okay. So, we'll talk about that. What would be the clinical features of these two states? The important thing is that a patient can present with diabetic ketoacidosis, can present with hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, or can present with combination. So, number of time they overlap also. Management more or less is same with little difference, which I'll talk about. So, what is the earliest symptom of diabetic ketoacidosis and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state? So, as I said, this evolves, the diabetic ketoacidosis evolves within 24 hours, and hyperglycemic hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state is more slow and insidious evolution, right? Now, how do they present? The early symptom of both the state is, of course, hyperglycemia, and because of hyperglycemia, the patient presents with polyuria, polydipsia, and weight loss. So, because of the diuresis, right? Because of hyperglycemic state, polyuria, and this results in diuresis, more and more diuresis, dehydration, and weight loss. So, hyperglycemia, patient presents with hyperglycemia, polyuria, polydipsia, and weight loss, right? Okay. What would be the late symptoms? Late symptoms, I mean little late, I would say. Neurological symptoms. When the condition is not managed, it goes unmanaged, undiagnosed. So, neurological symptoms can come. Neurological symptoms, like patient can become lethargic. Now, this can be due to the hyperosmolality and hyperosmolality because of hyperglycemia, or it could be also due to dehydration to some extent. So, neurological symptoms, lethargy. Now, focal signs can be there. This is more commonly seen in hyperosmolality hyperglycemic state, and obtundation and may lead to coma, and this is more commonly seen in hyperosmolality hyperglycemic state. Now, there are some cardinal features which is specifically seen in one of these conditions in diabetic ketoacidosis. The patient may complain of nausea and vomiting, abdominal pain, and they would hyperventilation. Now, hyperventilation is due to the acidotic state the patient is on, Cushman's breathing we call it, that is deep breathing to clear the carbon dioxide from the blood. So, Cushman's breathing, right? So, typical deep breathing will be seen, and patient will have acidotic breath, acetone breath, right? So, acidotic breath. Okay. Why is this abdominal pain seen in diabetic ketoacidosis? Now, the plausible explanation for this is abdominal distension caused by happens in diabetic ketoacidosis because of the delayed gastric emptying, right? So, most probably the abdominal pain is due to delayed gastric emptying and the ileus which is present. Okay. Acidotic breath is because of the ketotic breath, the fruity smell of the breath is because of the ketone bodies, and Cushman's breathing is because of the acidotic state the patient is on, patient is trying to hyperventilate and clear out the carbon dioxide. Now, when I do the physical examination of the patient, what exactly do I expect in these two conditions? Both the condition, there is a hyperglycemia is the cardinal sign, and in case of hyperglycemia, the polyuria, the urine, because of the hyperglycemia, the volume depletion which the patient has, the volume depletion that will make the patient dehydrated. And whenever we are examining the patient, we have to look for the extent of dehydration, because that will affect our plan of resuscitation. So we should gauge what is the level of dehydration of the patient. So signs of volume depletion. Signs of volume depletion. So how do we see the signs of volume depletion? Of course, decreased skin would be dry, the skin turgor would not be there, the dry axilla would be there, the patient tongue would be dry, the JVP would be collapsed, right? So first is that dry skin, decreased turgor of the skin, decreased skin turgor, then dry axilla, then dry oral mucosa and oral mucosa, low GVP, patient will present with tachycardia and hypotension. The sympathetic stimulation, which is happening due to dehydration. And as I said, in DKA, the patient will have a fruity breath. So in diabetic ketoacidosis, the patient will have fruity odor because of the ketone which is getting excreted. And patient will have deep respiration, which we call Cushional breathing or Cushional respiration, which I already discussed. So this is what we will see in physical examination. Now, why we are getting these kind of clinical features, and what is the metabolic derangement which happens in these two states? So to understand that, we need to understand the metabolism of glucose. So before going any further and discussing further their clinical presentation and their diagnostic criteria, I would just very quickly discuss about the pathogenesis. So let's talk about the pathogenesis of these two conditions. So before discussing the pathogenesis of DKA and HHS, let us very quickly review the metabolism, or how does the glucose metabolism takes place. So the circulating glucose in the blood, circulating glucose concentration, this is primarily dependent on two hormones, insulin and glucagon. So circulating glucose concentration is primarily regulated by two hormones. And what are those two hormones? Your insulin and glucagon, right? So what happens when we take a carbohydrate rich meal? The glucose is released in the blood, and this glucose stimulates the hormone insulin from pancreatic beta cell. The insulin which is released, what does it do? It causes increased peripheral utilization of the glucose in skeletal muscles and adipose tissue. So it removes the glucose from the blood. It stops the hepatic gluconeogenesis, because already there is glucose in the body. The liver does not need to produce more glucose, it inhibits it, and it inhibits the release of glucagon. So these are three important things. So when we take carbohydrate rich diet, what happens? The glucose concentration in the blood increases, and this activates release of insulin hormone, right? This insulin, what does it do? So insulin has three important roles. Number one, increases uptake of glucose by skeletal muscle and adipose tissue, then decreases hepatic glucose production, and inhibit glucagon secretion, right? And this is primarily responsible for maintaining the normal blood sugar level. What would happen if this hormone insulin is not there, and which is the primary pathology in diabetes? So what happens exactly in your DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, and hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state? In diabetic ketoacidosis, the insulin deficiency, the complete absence of the hormone insulin is there, and in hyperosmolality, hyperglycemic state,